last several decades, we have learned a great deal about brain function. We have learned a great deal about human behavior. We have learned a great deal about psychology. And as a result of that, we have realized to flourish and thrive, one must be compassionate. We know from the science that being compassionate increases longevity up to twofold. Being compassionate decreases your stress, decreases markers of inflammation. We know that being compassionate is fundamentally what we were designed for.
Probably what's happening is there is a wing of the autonomic nervous system that can countermand this fight or flight stress response from the sympathetic division of the nervous system. And it looks as though what's happening is when people attend to the outside world, when they attend to people they care about, when they essentially operate in a compassionate mode in their daily life, they're activating a fundamentally conserved biological response that has the effect of inhibiting this fight or flight stress biology that's orchestrating these adverse gene expression profiles. So as we think about bodies as fundamentally unitary systems separated from the rest of humanity, in fact, what we're learning is that our biology is intrinsically bound up in the people around us, our relationships to them, and the way that shapes how we function.
Physiological states lead to emergent properties, and some of those emergent properties are feelings of compassion and empathy. The physiological state that enables these emergent properties is actually a state of parasympathetic control, mediated by a unique vagal pathway that is unique to mammals. And this vagal pathway can be accessed through certain types of voluntary behaviors, through spontaneous social interactions with the emergent properties of basically downregulating stress responses and facilitating health.
We're recognizing the interdependence of the bonded individual. We're activating the medial preoptic area of the hypothalamus through the release of oxytocin that's binding to the entire caregiving neural circuit. Through activating this caregiving neural circuit, you're actually getting a progesterone release. And progesterone is the hormone responsible for physiological homeostasis in the body. It regulates the stress response by restoring GABAergic activity, that's the inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain, and it regulates the immune system. When you cleave any hormone, like cortisol, estrogen, testosterone, it all comes initially in the body from progesterone. So theoretically, the more you produce cortisol, the more you produce testosterone, the more you produce estrogen, for whatever demands are going on, the fewer progesterone stores you have. To me, the association of oxytocin and progesterone, each of which has been identified as beneficial in some instances, provides a way to think about how helping behavior could theoretically be connected to the body in ways that promote well-being and health. These interactions, and I say interactions between oxytocin and progesterone because either one of them alone, they don't necessarily do what you want them to do.
Compassion is actually an inherent human quality. It is there within every human being. But the conditions for compassion to be activated, to be aroused, are particular conditions. We have a society, a world that is paralyzed by fear. And in that paralysis, of course, our capacity for compassion is also paralyzed. The very word terror is global. The very feeling of terror is global. So our work, in a certain way, is to address this imago, this kind of archetype that has pervaded the psyche of our entire globe.
I've noticed a rather troubling modern movement to look down on compassion. To call compassionate people naive, or to resign the word to the bleeding hearts who we then toss away as idealistic. We're old enough. We've seen the atrocious things people do to each other. It seems so much safer to be a cynic. To believe in human compassion makes us feel like foolish children. It scares us. And how terrible that empathy is seen as childish, while cynicism seems the safer path. At times, I must admit, I too have hardened my heart in protection, but I still believe in a compassionate future for our world, and that future begins with all of us. We aren't foolish for caring. We're human, and compassion is part of being human. It can be simply said that shared suffering is lessened, while shared joy increased. And so, this is my challenge to you, my friends. Don't be ashamed of being compassionate. Strive to help others reach their full potential on your path to realizing your own.